Hello, everyone. Seems like more than just myself and Louise popped in. Perhaps. Right. I see there are four participants. Me, Louise, and perhaps two others. 3. Hey, Tim. Thanks for being here. We'll just wait a few more minutes, see if more people show. Once more people come, as requested before, after last time, we'll do a 5-minute sense of being meditation. For those of you that are here, can you hear me okay? Hi, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you for confirming that you can hear me. Thanks for making it. We're just waiting a few more minutes to give opportunity for people to come. think there's some construction going on in the background. Are you able to hear any background noise, or is it being filtered? I have a fairly sensitive mic, so I'm not sure. Filtered. Okay, great. Thank you, Tim. Okay, well, we can get started. So I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes, and if possible, you're welcome to settle into a sense of being meditation. And if I think some of you are driving, so if you're driving, just focus on the road and relax. Don't get into any accidents, please. But I'll set the timer. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear the timer go off. So after 5 minutes, I'll welcome everyone back, and then we can open it up for questions or reports. So, okay. Setting the timer now. And just for those of you that may not be as familiar, the sense of being meditation is simply alertly noticing this present sense of aliveness that is right here. It does not require thought to be noticed. I've heard some people say that it is closer to you than you are to yourself, which I think is a beautiful way of putting it. And really, it's just this felt, simple, vibratory, vibrant quality of existence. So, for the next 5 minutes, let's just give that sense of ourself some attention. right, everyone, come on back. Hope that was enjoyable to whatever degree it was available for you to participate in that. Oh, great. Timer bell was clear. That's good to know that it's pick-upable on YouTube Live. So, great. All right, well, we'll open it up for questions now. So this YouTube Live is simply a space to bring up any questions, concerns, sticking points that we may be struggling with within the context of non-duality, the living method, addiction to self. Really, this is just a supportive space to explore whatever comes up. I'll unfortunately not be able to participate in as an engaged way as I would in a typical meeting or one-to-one, but this is a way of people participating without much concern for anonymity. So when I see a question in the chat, I won't be responding with the name. I'll just be speaking to the question. Okay, so we have a question in the chat. The question is, can I speak on the difference between clarifying a sense of self and what you really are? So I'll just respond to what I'm guided to in reading the question, and if there's a part of the question that you want me to clarify further, or if I misunderstood, please just rephrase it, and I'll be happy to speak on that point. So the difference between the sense of self and what we are, one way of putting it is the sense of self is what you're not, and what you are is what you are, which what you are is inherently indescribable, and yet there are some ways of talking about what's true in a way that resonates. So terms that prompt that resonance is things like wholeness, completeness, aliveness, awareness, awakeness, spaciousness, non-dual nature, awake nature, life, the Tao. radiance, void, emptiness. There are all these different terms that we can use. And so the sense of self is this, well, it's the sense of sense of self. It's the patterning that's expressed in thought, that, it's the story of you as a separate individual. The sense of self is this sense of me. I'm here as someone. I'm here as a Boh or a Bob, Carol, Catherine, Marvin, Justin, I don't know. I'm here as someone. And I am a fragile fragment of experiencing that constantly has to live life in a way, or approach life in a way that is in alignment with this hero's journey of finally getting there, of one day I'll be complete, one day I'll be good enough, one day I'll be safe, one day I'll be secure, one day I will be at peace, one day I won't have to seek, one day I won't have to suffer. So the sense of self is defined by this constant, well, not constant actually, it's not constant. A better word is persistent, a persistent sense of inadequacy, a persistent argument with how life is showing up. And it's this argument with life, argument with what is, that creates this sense of division. If there's a thinking pattern that says this should be different, and then another thinking pattern that's referring to the previous thinking pattern as being about a self, and that it's a self that's speaking, it's self that's doing the complaining, a self that this experience is about and happening from, for, then life, apparently, it's not true, but it can be the experience that life seems to be constructed in a way that's dualistic, of me over here somewhere in the body, and everything that isn't me is out there. And so when we're clarifying the sense of self versus what we are, in this teaching, typically we start by exploring, our self-concepts, our ideas about how we define ourselves. And I guess the good news, in a way, is that typically everything that we're not is defined in these broken, deficient terms. So the one that's not good enough, the one that needs to be successful, the one that needs more, the one that needs to feel better. Those beliefs are are good starting points for looking closer at misidentification, because really awakeness, true nature, isn't broken. Awakeness isn't deficient in any way. There's just awakeness, there's just wholeness. What you are is already whole and complete. And none of the problems expressed in mental narrative are define you or about you in any way. So when we're looking at the difference between what you are and what you're not, typically we look at thought and see what am I believing, and seeing what are we believing about who's believing. Typically, where we start in the bubble of self-reflection, and we say, okay, well, I'm Boh that's believing that I'm Boh, when that's not possible. So we look closer at if there is a Boh that can be found, and if it is really true that whatever that Boh is, there isn't one, just patterns. If it really feels like that's what we are, if it really feels like I'm Boh, or if that's just an assumption that I'm running with as awakeness, just the momentum of believing thought. Just like, prior to stopping and looking closer, I may be under the assumption that these glasses are what's seeing, when really it's not. Glasses aren't what's seeing. It's because of glasses that the image of what's appearing using this machinery is more in view, is clearer, but the glasses aren't what's seeing. Really, the eyes aren't what's seeing either. Eyes are what, within relativity, allows sight to be known, but the knowing of sight is prior to that. It's this sense of being, this consciousness that everything in experience is based upon. So the process of looking closer at what we are and what we're not is really just a process of moving the cart from in front of the horse to behind the horse. Seeing that there isn't a noun that's verbing, there's just verbing. And that process of verbing can create the illusion that there's a noun that's seeing, a self that's speaking, a self that's feeling. But it's not true. There's just lifing. So I hope that was helpful. If I didn't address your question, please let me know and I'll try to reframe. Anyone else? It seems we have fewer participants than when we started happens. Okay, so someone just asked the question, can you talk about the bubble? There's getting it and then not getting it. So the bubble of self-reflection is basically, oh wait, I think I have. Okay. This is exciting. This is the first time I'm using this. So, I made this with AI. Oh, this is so good. Okay, so the bubble of self-reflection is when awakeness believes that it's a unit and believes that it's something inside the unit really, but is looking out into the world really looking out at itself through the unit as if it's this unit. So because awakeness is looking, basically referencing thought as the framework for understanding and interpreting what is and understanding and interpreting itself as if it was a self, then because of that process, because thought is constantly self-referring, self-referential, it creates this sense of a bubble. So when awakeness looks through the unit, it sees its reflection in the bubble that's created through thought referring to itself. And so just like with the glasses, saying, oh, it's because the starting point of glasses isn't looked at in the same way the starting point of the self, the unit, misidentification isn't looked at. Awakeness is operating from the assumption that the glasses are what's seeing, or that the unit is what's seeing. The unit is what it is, right? So the bubble of self-reflection is where most people start, where most people live life, really, is in the bubble of self-reflection. Within the process of awakening, and by that I mean realization, clearing, acceptance, abidance, the process of awakening, and that's worked through within Awakening Clarity Now using the living method. It comes up most often with seekers because they come to satsang, or they come to meetings like these, or one-on-one sessions, and say, Boh, I get it that there's no Greg, but I still feel like there's a Greg. Even though I, Greg, know that there's no Greg, I understand this intellectually. But because I believe I'm Greg, it's not my experience that there's just one thing going on. And so, because the puppet, this is a puppet. Wait, oh my goodness, I get to use the other one. All right. Oh, this is so good. Okay. Very exciting. So because this this is the same as this. This is a puppet, and this is a puppet holding a puppet. So because of the bubble self-reflection, awakeness, using the puppet, thinks that it's the puppet rather than the animating presence that is moving the puppet. And so so awakeness comes to a meeting or a session and says, hey, I get that I'm not a puppet, but I still feel like a puppet. but the puppet isn't doing anything. It's the animating presence, just like it's the animating presence that's making anything happen, anything experienceable. And so when we start from the right place, when we start from what's true, we then have the opportunity of seeing through the bubble of self-reflection. When we start from the space that all of this is appearing within, and recognize that what's primary is what's believing the self-referential thoughts, that the spaciousness, the awakeness, consciousness, oneness is believing thoughts and believing that it's the unit. Then there's the opportunity to see that the unit can't recognize that it's not the unit. Just like the puppet can't recognize that it's not the puppet. The puppet can't recognize that it's awakeness because the puppet doesn't have its own agency. Just like this puppet can't recognize that it's not the puppet. It's awakeness, that which allows anything to be experienceable, that which is animating this experiencing, that can recognize, oh, I'm not the unit. I'm not this puppet. I'm not this puppet. Because I was believing thought, that's what was making it seem like I'm the unit. That's what was making it seem that aliveness, what I am, is contained within the unit, within this puppet. And that's when things can change for awakeness, apparently. The lived experience of itself makes a big difference. When awakeness is able to recognize that it's not limited to one of the appearances that's appearing within it, just like awakeness isn't limited to this appearance, awakeness isn't limited to this appearance, awakeness isn't limited to this appearance. All of these appearances are appearing within awakeness. And so once this, neti peeling off the layers process takes place, awakeness is able to recognize that it's awakeness, and that what it's been misidentifying with have been appearances within it. And once that's recognized, then the bubble of self-reflection is popped until it comes back again. And the clearing process is in large part aimed at softening this tendency of the bubble of self-reflection to continuously reassert itself. So more and more, it's clear that, okay, like this unit doesn't have to go away in order for awakeness to recognize that it's not the unit. That would be ridiculous. Well, not only is it ridiculous, but it would also be impossible, because this seems to be what's happening here, right? So I might have to really work at this for many lifetimes in order to, do practices enough so that this somehow disappears and this spaciousness that it's appearing within can notice, oh, I'm the spaciousness. But fortunately, that's not necessary. So the bubble of self-reflection is awakeness believing that it's a self. And sometimes when awakeness believes that it's a self, it also believes that it's the self that knows that there's no self. And that is very funny. But understandable and innocent. I think we have time for one more question. Last call for questions. Thank you. All right. Thanks, everyone. Well, it seems like there's no more questions, so we can wrap it up there. Thank you all for being here and participating, seeing the silliness that can come here often. So beautiful. Thank you, everyone. See you next month. And some of you see you much sooner than that. So thank you. Goodbye.